Hello, I'm Jeff Sawyer, CCI's Director of Employer and Professional Network Development. This Future Forward segment features Beth Downing, CFO of Avansic, a startup and leading provider of eDiscovery and digital forensics services to attorneys, litigation, support teams, and the business community. Beth has held a number of different functional roles with Avansic, including operations, marketing, communications, and finance. Beth graduated from Middlebury in 2001 with a degree in biology. Beth is joining us to share her perspectives on the growing aspects of digital information and electronically stored information, or ESI, in our daily lives, including a broad overview of the ESI landscape, the limitations and opportunities in the future driven by digital innovation, and our use of data and information, and her career advice for students. Beth, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to talk about this. And wow, 2001 feels like a long time ago.
Just a blink.
Yeah, exactly. Both at the same time.
Beth, just to set the stage for our conversation, can you talk a little bit about the ESI market? Give us some idea as to the scale and components of the market, technology's role in this work, as well as how Avansic's work fits within this context.
Absolutely. So ESI is electronically stored information, as you said. And, you know, it's one of those things that is absolutely everywhere. Data is everywhere. It's like air. There are so few places left on this planet that you can go without some kind of data following you or able to find you. And, you know, it's such a huge industry that often billions and trillions are used to describe how much of it is actually out there. It's one of those inconceivable kind of things. And it can mean anything. It can mean the Word document on your computer. It can mean the data information, the user activity that's tracked from your cell phone when you picked it up first thing this morning. It can mean your contribution to the algorithm that chooses what movie you want to watch next time on Netflix. It can mean your car figuring out how to stay in its own lane and what it knows about you and the way that you drive. I know when I get in my car, which is definitely smarter than me, it says, "Hello, Beth," and adjusts my seat for me. I mean, it's these kinds of things that are just absolutely everywhere. And the word ubiquitous is used in descriptions of how much data is out there and where the data is, I think, very accurately. Most of the time when you read about it, they say it's everywhere, and that's absolutely true. So our piece of the ESI industry has largely to do with lawsuits, with litigations, and with with internal corporate investigations. We look at computers, we look at mobile devices, cell phones, iPads, tablets, that kind of thing. And most of what we focus on is civil. There's a very robust set of folks that are trained really, really well and have great tools in law enforcement that handle the criminal side of things. You know, ESI, like we just said, absolutely everywhere, including where crimes are committed. So it's definitely something that is a tool that the courts and that attorneys have been using for some time. When we started this company in 2004, we really had to convince people that data was something that could be useful to their case. Here in Oklahoma, we're still trying to convince a few folks that is still a thing and that they might want to hop on this train. But I feel like the large majority of certainly the legal community, certainly the corporate community, has figured out that this is a treasure trove of information for when they're taking a look at what's going on in their or if they are or lawsuit. So we've words here that might seem like they're interchangeable, but they're not. So we talk about digital forensics and we talk about eDiscovery. So digital forensics is where one of our digital forensics investigators is taking a really deep dive into what's going on with the user activity on a certain device. It is typically a computer or a cell phone. And what we're taking a look at is, when did they copy a file to that thumb drive? When did they email themselves a client list to their Gmail account? what tabs did they have open at noon on July the 20th when something major was happening at their company? Did they forge a document in Outlook first and then move it over to Word? Those are things that our digital forensics investigators can really take a look at. eDiscovery, on the other hand, is when you're taking a large data set. It tends to be email, loose files from file stores at a company, and we organize all that data so that the person's most knowledgeable, either at the company or on the legal team, can then review it in a way that makes a lot of sense, and that those persons most knowledgeable can say, okay, this is important, this isn't, let's take a little deeper dive into this, we have some questions about these particular documents, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the difference between digital forensics and eDiscovery. One is very investigator driven on our side, and one is very much we process, organize, and make that data look real nice so that the people that know the most can then review it, take a look at it.
On the eDiscovery side, I'm intrigued because it seems like, aside from in your case or Avansic's case in the legal profession, that it would have application for others as well. And in particular, I'm thinking just in terms of research in general. So researchers, whether they're academic or scientific, that have just a ton of documents and information that they might want to be able to look at, that your techniques would be beneficial from a product and service perspective to them as well. Is that your sense as well?
Absolutely. There's no question. And I mean, we have talked about volume of data already. It's not going away. It's only going to get bigger. And using artificial intelligence, using advanced analytics, and all of the things that we kind of frankly, on a fairly small scale on the legal and the litigation side of things, can absolutely be used in larger arenas. And I think that there's kind of a really nice sort of push-pull in that also. I feel like there are a lot of things that the software developers for the online review tools and the processing tools that we use in our space have taken from larger areas where they do massive database management, massive information management, and have been able to apply it to this field. And I think the same is also true. Absolutely, it can be moved outward as well. That search techniques that we've really refined. Email is so complicated. I mean, think about a chain of emails that you sent where you included some folks and then took some folks off and then BCC'd some folks and then forwarded it to yourself at your Gmail and then sent a reply back with an attachment. The email is stunningly complex, and having to process that and then present it in a way that's easy to review is one of the bigger challenges in our industry. And what we do at a really fundamental level on the eDiscovery side is we're having databases talk to each other, right? We're taking the export from one database and figuring out how to import it into another. And then we're taking that information and then we're figuring out how to export it properly to import into another. So we're having all of these compatibility types of actions and transitions. So I feel like a lot of what we do and a lot of, frankly, information technology management currently has to do with figuring out how to get giant databases of information to talk to each other well.